Good morning, cousins. Thanks for joining me this morning. We got to have some conversations with John and my cousin Dexter this morning. My name's John. I'm the creator of Have Some Conversations, where I'm bringing on different guests, interviewing different people to get some gems for that individual that's out there that's trying to be successful in business, fatherhood, in life. Uh, that person that might be going through a rut, looking for some type of inspiration, and also, to get that same inspiration from the guests that we bring on. And so with this series, I'm bringing on my cousin Dexter, somebody that I admire and that I look up to, and I'll let him introduce himself.
All right. Hey. Good morning, little cousin. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Dexter Harris, South Central Los Angeles, entrepreneur,
Sure.
father, businessman, chasing my dreams, making them reality.
That's right. I see you got the logo up behind you this morning.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's my syndication company, D Harris Group. We invest in apartment buildings, help investors make passive money, build their wealth while I'm building my multifamily business.
There we go. Yeah. I'm trying to get in position so I can get in on that.
That's what's up. You will be. Hey, my success is your success and vice versa. I remember you telling me that a long time ago.
Yep. Exactly.
You are your brother Jonathan. I can't recall. I think it was.
Yeah, that was me. Yep.
That's what's up. Exactly.
Praying for each other's success. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I got some follow-up questions for you based off our last interview that we had last week. So I'm gonna jump right into it.
Sure.
So how was your experience dating and then eventually marrying, having multiple children from your previous marriage?
Good question. My experience dating was cool. I grew up in the 90s. We didn't have social media. So me and my friends, we went to the mall and talked to girls. I got rejected plenty of times. The girls that did give me their numbers found me attractive, handsome, cute, or whatever. I called them up and I built my confidence as a man. Like I said, we have social media to jump in a person's DM or the inbox or whatever the case may be, or, go like 15 pictures and then hopefully they catch their attention, right? With social media these days. So we had to get out there and, hey, how you doing? What's your name? Can I get your number? So that being said, my experience was cool. I didn't have any issues. The girls that didn't give me their numbers, oh well, kept pushing. But the ones that did, I got their number. Like I said, I'm a father of 5 daughters of my own, and my wife has a daughter, so 6. 4 of my daughters is from a marriage, 14-year relationship, 10-year marriage. So, a person, you hear a black man say he got 5 kids, the next question popping in their head, like, how many baby mamas, right? And then my 5th daughter is from off and on long-term relationship as well. Okay. So when I got to dating, I always had value to myself by working, chasing my dreams, knowing that I had multiple children and multiple baby mamas. So when I found someone, I, was up front. My children were big teenagers when I met my new wife. So they were, and I was a single dad. So I just had my priorities together, having value as a man, being responsible, working, running small businesses, out chasing my dreams. I was working at the school board, working with special needs children when I met my wife 6-7 years ago, around 2016. So I have a vending machine at our school, and how I met her item got stuck in my vending machine, and she called me, and she's like, "Oh wow, you here getting paid twice? You get paid working here, and you got a vending machine," and just laughing and flirting professionally. So once again, like I said, just having value as a man, as a person, chasing my dreams, to knowing if I wanted to get serious with someone, I had to have my shit together, especially if, excuse my language, I had to have my priority together, especially if I want to be with someone that has their priorities together to where we can continue building and growing. Yep.
That's right. I asked that question because, normally what we see that it's, the women with the children, right?
Right.
And when they're looking for a partner. So I know that can be tough, and that's a tough conversation. I had someone who watched our previous interview, right, was curious about that. Like, what is that situation like for a man? So I appreciate you
No
elaborating
problem at all.
on that, and
Each,
because
each one is different. Yeah, it's not to cut you off. Each one is different. You deal with a woman with children, you want to make sure she don't have no crazy baby daddy in the background to where you got to put yourself, your life on the line to protect yourself and defend yourself. But at the end of the day, everyone want to make it back home.
Mhm.
So if a woman does have a child, you want to make sure the baby daddy is still not trying to control her from his house or distance, saying, picking and choosing who she can deal with, or don't have this person around my child, or that or the other. So like I said, me having children, knowing I was a single dad, I most definitely was open to dating a woman that had children, because I have children, so I couldn't make that a disqualifier or a red flag, like, oh, she got kids, so, or she got a crazy baby daddy, because I got some baby mamas that have their issues they got going on that still like to drama here and there, so.
Absolutely, like you said, you want to make it home,
Exactly.
and I tell you what, John and Dexter always gonna make it home, that's for sure. But you in a
By the
good
grace of God.
situation by the grace of God. So crazy baby mama, crazy baby daddy, better get it right. All right, and so what advice would you give, having your experience to a young man or to a young woman, right? And I know you kind of elaborated on this already, but what advice would you give them, right, if they do have multiple children and they are looking for love?
Good question once again. It's kind of tough. Just me personally, my happiness came with me chasing my dreams and making them reality, far as continue building myself by either accomplishing a goal or turning that loss into a lesson to keep pushing forward to that goal, and not holding on to hurt past relationships to where you're not afraid to open up and find love again, because most minorities come from broken homes, and we really don't see long lasting relationships or marriages, and it takes knowing within yourself, being comfortable within yourself and confident with yourself to continue making that relationship work, or dealing with a person with a child, and through the ups and downs or the trials and tribulations that y'all go through. And if your love is unconditional and you feel this is the right person for you, y'all will continue making it work.
Absolutely. That's right. Thank you, cousin. And then so again, we're gonna move into co-parenting, because I know a lot of brothers out there that I see who struggle to co-parent, right? You hear about, oh, my baby mama keeping me away from my kids, or the baby mama might say that this person, the baby daddy, isn't being supportive, or whatever the case may be. So with a lot of brothers, specifically for the brothers that's out there struggling to co-parent, right? How did you deal with co-parenting, and what was that dynamic like for you, between you and your baby mama, when the mother of your children, when co-parenting?
Good question once again. Co-parenting is tough. It's different for every situation, because you do have parents that use children as the pawn, whether mom or dad, with the other parent. As a person, you have to stand up as a mature, masculine man and put your foot down and let that other person know, hey, this is my child. This is who I'm dealing with. If that person if the mother or father don't want the child around the new person that you're dealing with. So most definitely being open and have that uncomfortable conversation with that parent on, hey, this is who I'm dealing with, this is who my child want to be around, and laying a foundation and being consistent in that. And co-parent, it's tough because, like I say, I still have my struggles with co-parenting, and it's something that continue working on, staying consistent in what you say you're going to do and do it, having your action line up with your words. Let me see what else. Just like I said, just letting that parent know where you stand and what you got going on in your life, and your child is going to be involved in your life, and you're going to be involved in your child life. So co-parenting, man, it has a lot of bumps and bruises, but as what's that saying? God give his toughest battle to his strongest soldiers. So if you're strong and ready to go through those trials and tribulations with that parent, no matter what it may be, you'll make it through that storm. And children don't stay children forever.
Right.
You know, it's most definitely have to have patience, continue praying, and having some mature conversations with that other parent to where y'all can get some agreements going. You know, it's kind of a lot to be said. If you know you're not serious with whoever you're dealing with, then you might want to reconsider bringing your child around that other person, knowing if you don't see it's going to be long term, because you don't want your child seeing different people, men or women, bouncing in and out of your life, and then that child will pick up on that, and then that becomes an argument between the other parent. You got all these men around my daughter, or you got all these women around my son, and this, that, and the third. So co-parenting is tough, bro. It's tough. At the same time, staying consistent and delivering on what you say you're going to do. Then your actions line up with your words.
Absolutely. Did you have to deal with family court at all?
Yes. And my last little daughter, I have family court involved. Yes, I do.
Okay. And you know, from my observation and a lot of the brothers that I speak to, you know, the court system as we know it is just not nice.
Yeah, exactly. It isn't nice.
Specifically toward Black men.
Right, exactly.
So how was it for you going through that experience, making it through that experience, and what was the outcome for you?
Dealing with my youngest daughter, mom, things had changed for our school, and I would have her certain days, and we couldn't agree on that of changing of the days. So the courts had to get involved because she wasn't mature enough to see that, hey, this isn't going to work for me living where I live and commuting these days to drop my daughter off down to school. So since she wasn't, or being spiteful, you know, I'm not trying to drag her through the mud or whatever, whatnot, but she wasn't mature enough to see that. And her and I, to make an agreement to change the days that I would have her, the courts got involved, and that middle person, the mediator, the court had to make that decision for us.
Okay. All right. And did you feel like you got a fair shake? And did you feel like the judge, the mediator, were they hearing you? Were they working with you?
Yeah, on certain instances they was working with me and working against me, but my main thing was just switching these days for our child to get to school on time without a long commute on my end, multiple days during the week. You know, so with that being said, I was heard on that, and what I was asking for got granted because it made sense. But like I said, the mother not being mature to see that, or being spiteful, didn't want to agree to that. So we had to get someone on the outside looking in to say, hey, that makes sense. That's too much. That's too much of a strain on the child and on me, you know, taking this long commute to get her to school multiple days during the week.
That's right.
So certain things didn't go my way, but it is what it is. What's that old saying? Trouble don't last long always. I'm so glad. Trouble don't last always. And just me personally, by me having 4 children from my ex-wife, I kind of went through it before, but without the courts.
Mm-hmm.
Her and I were able to agree on certain things and see the bigger picture for the sake of our children. So I try to take that experience into the situation with my last baby mother, but it didn't work out that way. So the courts had to get involved. And, you know, so my 4 daughters, 3 of them are grown. My 4th daughter is in 12th grade, about to graduate from high school, class of 2023. And I have an 8-year-old. And like I said, my wife has an 11-year-old. So most definitely, my daughters are up in age, young adults working and taking care of themselves. So, and I don't have any issues with, you know, my ex-wife and our 17-year-old daughter. You know, we talk and make agreement for things that need to be done for her, for our school wise, but you know, little kid issues or watching her or this, that, and the third, I don't have to deal with anymore with my ex-wife and our last daughter. Now, with my 8-year-old, those are things I have to deal with right now.
Okay. I'm just curious, how long was that commute? Or how long is that drive to drop off at
60
school?
miles.
60 miles.
That without traffic, an hour. With traffic, hour and a half.
Right. So you making that commitment. You were making that commitment.
I do it Fridays when I go down to pick her up.
Okay.
And Monday mornings we leave our house about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. The latest to get her to school by 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I still make the commute, but I was going to have her multiple days from Sunday through Wednesday, which we had was our first go around with me having my daughter. Like I said, when school started, and I reached out to her way before school started, like, hey, this isn't going to work for me commuting down there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, back and forth. Because like I said, I would have her those days, so I would have to get her to school Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and pick her up on Monday and Tuesday. So that would be a strain, especially on these dangerous California roads. You know, early in the morning, people trying to get to work and get to their office and driving reckless and crazy, or one bad accident that would slow us up. You know, so most definitely that wasn't going to work. So some people, like I say, common sense is not always common to other people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Real talk.
Yeah.
For real. So what would you say to the young man then? Because again, I hear a lot of this, like you know, my baby mama don't want me to see my kids. She keeping my kids away from me. Having gone through both experiences where you was able to work it out with one and having to mediate with the other, right? And if it's a young brother coming to you, being that you've been through this experience and they coming at you with I want to see my kid, she keeping my kid from me, yada, 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 yada. What would you say to them?
Patience. Have an uncomfortable conversation with that person, and hopefully they mature enough to have that conversation with you to where y'all can have some agreements. And if you feel that's not working, then your best route may be to go through the courts, because you have a say so with your child. In the courts, some agreements are, you know, we have 50-50 decision on education, health, and travel. You know, you have just as much say so as that other parent. So if that other parent is not being mature enough, or she's still in her feelings, or he or she, I want to keep saying she, but in our society, most women tend to take on our children and raise them, you know, so I'm not just trying to keep saying she, you know what I'm saying? Because I was a single dad. So I was just trying to, the other parent not being mature, and you trying to have that adult mature conversation with them, opening up, being vulnerable, because as men, we don't tend to become vulnerable. Speaking of myself, I grew up with 3 emotions. I was happy, and when I was winning, I was sad at the loss of a loved one, or I was aggressive, mad, because I grew up in a predominantly male, masculine, tough, macho family, and showing weakness was a sign of being weak and being vulnerable. So I didn't have those. I have them because I'm a human, but as a kid, I didn't know how to show them and express them without being feeling that I was weak or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
So having that conversation with that other parent, opening up, being vulnerable. Hey, I want to see my child. I want to be involved in my child's life. Me personally, I didn't have my dad. My dad was killed before I was born. Mm-hmm. So I knew from the jump, I'm most definitely going to be involved in my children's life to see them grow up as long as I'm here and break generational curses. Like, don't drop out of high school. Our high school graduate, don't become a teenage parent, and don't get strung out on substance and drug abuse, especially that's those things that we see normal, or that's normalized in our community, in the inner city, in the hood, or in urban areas that they call it these days.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it takes that mature conversation. If that person or other parent is not mature enough or ready to give you access to your child, you might want to consider going through the courts and then continue being patient on your end. And when you come to court, just have your stuff together. You want to make sure you're stable, you have a stable place, you have an income, you're working to where you can have some supporting things to show the court that you have your stuff together. Mm-hmm. Whether you roommate, staying with a family member, staying with mom, but you have a stable place to where your child is going to be safe and secure. You can show the courts, the judge, and the state, because that's what you're going to be fighting against, the state, rather. Mm-hmm. It's going to be you against the state and the other parent, basically, when you go to court. So that would be my advice. Try to have those conversations, those uncomfortable conversations, because it tends to turn into an argument. You have to be mature and say, hey, I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just letting you know how I feel. I want to be involved in my child's life. You and I didn't work, and we can't seem to agree to disagree, but I want to continue being involved, and I'm going to continue being involved in my child's life, whether you say so or if I have to get the courts involved. Mm-hmm. So there's something for you to think about. And I'm going to call you tomorrow or call me back in a day or two, and we can have this mature conversation, about what days can I get my child? Can I get her on a weekend? Can I pick him or her up from school and spend some time with them, take them to the park, help them with their homework, or whatever the case may be, where I can continue establishing a relationship with my child, but then, like I said, that's the big old issue, because you got domestic violence goes on and all other things. Just if you take that from the equation, the domestic violence, and you can be around your child or the mother, hopefully y'all can have that conversation, Yeah.
It sounds like, given your experience, right, especially, losing your father prior to being born, that you wasn't going to let nothing get in your way from being there for your children.
Yeah, most definitely. When I remember having this conversation with my ex-wife, and I was like, I'm finna have a baby. And she's like, oh, I don't want my daughter, or whatever the case, whatever, I forgot what the word was said, but me telling her my children are going to know each other and grow up with each other. They're not going to see each other every once in a while. And my daughters, they grown up with each other. My youngest daughters they know her big sisters very well, very well.
There we go.
Hell yeah. I remember having a conversation with one of our uncles, and I was telling him the same thing, like, man, this is not a responsibility. It's my responsibility. I'm gonna be there for my child. So, however she's feeling at the moment, I didn't understand. Like I said, this was about 9 or 10 years ago. So I'm like, man, I'm gonna be there for my child, even though it's from another mother. Me personally, I didn't want 2 baby mamas because I didn't want to deal with the drama. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Of having 2 baby mamas that I'm kind of dealing with now. I just wanted one woman, even though I've been a player. Growing up as a player, I have 5 daughters, so I did break a lot of hearts. Back to the dating experience. Back to the dating experience. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I broke a lot of hearts. I used and abused, a lot of women that I knew that really loved and cared about me, but my heart wasn't there. It was at the time I was thinking with my little head and not my big head. And that takes growth and maturing, you know what I'm saying? To realize that and opening up and being vulnerable to even say that, to show that how much comfortable I am within myself as a man. So with that being said, I got to make sure my daughters know and grow up with each other, and me being an active father in their life and showing them how a man supposed to provide and take care of home and no matter what the situation is between the other parent.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then, cousin, you have got a whole bunch of daughters.
Yeah.
Girl, man.
My little godson, Chase. Shout out to Chase, my little guy.
Chase, yeah. Chase. Right. So, you got all these young ladies, young women that you raising. What would you tell that young brother when it comes to raising women, right?
Man, it's kind of tough. You know what I'm saying? You got to have those uncomfortable conversations with your daughters until they become comfortable, because they'll be misled by family and fake friends, and given the peer pressure. Mm-hmm. So most definitely having those conversations, giving them, what I would say, giving it to them straight, mm-hmm. with no chaser, mm-hmm. when they old enough and mature enough to understand, mm-hmm. What you're saying to them, because as they growing up, you kind of break it down and for them to understand at their level, mm-hmm. but at the same time, it's constantly reminding them and letting them know about it, so they can be aware about what can go on or what can be, what can happen out in the world, mm-hmm. for they can have their defense ready, So, like I said, I reminded my daughter about the 7 B's, books before boys, because boys brings babies. Mm-hmm. I was 16 when I had my first daughter. Mm-hmm. So I know what a 16-year-old boy is thinking, because mm-hmm. I was doing it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And having that baby at that young age, I had to grow up and mature fast. Shit, I wanted to play high school football. Well, I got a job after school. I was working to pay bills and rent at 17. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And be a man and work and provide for myself and my children. And back to, it kind of starts back to self, because if you can't provide for yourself, then you can't provide for someone else, and it's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make. And sometimes, and most of the times, give yourself the short end of the stick, mm-hmm. if you want to provide a better upbringing and way of life for your children, as you're also striving, mm-hmm. to obtain your goals and accomplish your dreams, and not give up on yourself, or just, this is it. I don't think I can do it, or someone else in the family never had it, so I can't do it, or whatever the case may be, those limited beliefs a person may have. Yeah. So it's tough, man. It's about what you want out of life. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Striving for it, and then being there as a parent to your children, mm-hmm. growing. There's no book on parents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Man, I think, making that sacrifice, or making that point about making those sacrifices, because I think that's the part where a lot of men, and some women as well, right, they fold up, right? Because we got big egos. I'm this, I'm that. Right. We like our toys, right. We like our shiny things, right? But
exactly,
when you got to make that sacrifice and you got to give up those toys and those shiny things, that could be hard. Were you ever in that situation? And if so, how did you handle that?
Not really. I always wasn't really materialistic like that. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I got to have this. I got to compete with the Joneses. I got to portray this image that I have it. You know what I'm saying? When I go out to the public, working and striving and surviving, keeping a roof over my family head, food on the table, and the lights on and hot water. You know what I'm saying? So that was me feeling successful. I can pay my rent every month without having to reach out to a family member or my mom, or either get out in the streets and do something that would jeopardize my life or my freedom to, pay the bills and rent and provide for my children. Those things will come. Those things are temporarily, the material things. And out here trying to make it look like I got it, faking and fronting, that wasn't my lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So, and I sacrifice, and I have delayed gratification. I remember someone telling me, if you sacrifice 3 to 5 years and live like people don't want to live, you can live the next 30 to 50 years how people can't live. And now I'm not bragging or boasting, but I'm living a life how I want to live. I travel with no problem, see plenty of places.
Man.
I'm a homeowner. I'm a business owner. I'm blessed. I have multiple vehicles. I have multiple streams of income. I have health. I have a family that love me. More importantly, I love my family. I have good friends that love me and I love and care about them. Like I said, my daughters are independent, working, taking care of their business. And those will really matter in life. What's that song? What that little verse Drake say? We tend to love things and use people when it should be the other way around. Love people and use things. Yep. So the things put here on earth, I just use them, enjoy them for now. But I love my people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. That's true happiness right there.
That's it. Exactly. That's true happiness.
That's true happiness. I appreciate that. And you know what, man? I that delayed gratification, that's huge. That's huge.
Hell yeah.
And it's difficult, especially for people coming up where we come from, because you know we so caught up in
we want that microwave, that instant.
Exactly. But that's not good in the long run.
Right, exactly.
That's not sustainable.
Not sustainable, most definitely.
Yeah, so we didn't see them get it and lose it, and you know, and they got to go back and forth. And I came up, I got to see two different hustlers when I coming up. It was the one that got it fast, had all the nice things, right? And then, but I actually learned my hustle was, you feel me? You got to get ugly. You got to have that delayed gratification, right? I got to look bummy. I got to look scruffy.
Right.
Can't get no new nothing, you know. Exactly. And you got to make that sacrifice because you got something that you building for. So yeah, that's huge. And I think that's that Dave Ramsey I've also heard, you know, live like nobody's willing to live, which means put yourself through the mud for X amount of years. If you got to get out of debt, do what you got to do to get out of debt, whatever the case may be, so you can get it on the back end. And I think for us, when we go from hustler to businessman, we learn that as a true businessman, we're going to get it on the back end.
Right, exactly.
We're going to get it on the back end. And I think that's a huge mind shift from going to hustler to businessman. Businessman, if you're a hustler, you're always going to have that hustle in you. Right? Exactly. That's what's going to make you a successful businessman. But that mind shift, I'm going to get it on the back end. It's going to pay off in the long run. I'm going to get my equity when it's time. So that's huge right there. And I got one more question for you. And you kind of talked about this a little too, especially growing up in our family where it's very masculine, very macho, man, right? A lot of young men, right, and men, period, struggle in silence, cousin. Right. Can you tell me about a difficult time you've had and how you pulled yourself out of that difficult time, right? We talked about some of us, we stuck in a rut. We might be feeling low, right? We might feel like we can't catch a break. It's one thing after the other, right? How did you deal with that? And how did you pull yourself out of it?
Back again, just knowing, praying, growing up, having, you know, a praying grandmother. I know trouble didn't last always. If I stayed in that rut or stayed in that funk, I would keep attracting that energy that's going to bring it. I would deal with the situation and push forward, pray on it. And I'm a patient person. So whatever tough time I'm dealing with at the moment, I know it's not going to last always. Let me continue striving for what I want to accomplish out of life. So, and we do struggle in silence as men. Like I said, opening up to another man, it shows a sign of weakness or becoming vulnerable, but we're humans. We all deal with different emotions, depression, anxiety, frustration, and all those group of emotions that we tend to hold in. And just growing up in the hood, I see friends, older friends struggle with alcohol and drug abuse because they didn't have an outlet. And that's their way of, you know, pushing their problems to the back of, you know, their mind by being intoxicated, you know, and from what I see. But at the same time, you have to be able to let that out, those problems that you're dealing with, and not let them out and explode on someone, but let them out in a healthy way. Or if we continue holding them in internally, we will implode on ourselves. And that's where maybe the substance or alcohol abuse will come in, to where we're trying to run away from the problems or don't know how to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So I'm part of a men's group, and we meet every Tuesday. And it's a group of men, and we sit and talk and become vulnerable and talk about life and what we're dealing with. Our mission statement is to cause greatness by mentoring men to live with excellence, and as mature, masculine leaders, create successful families, careers, and communities. It's called MDI, Mentor, Discover, and Inspire. And it's helped me a lot. I've been a part of this group for this man's team for 2 years next month. And I enjoy it a lot, most definitely. But always would open up, talk to an uncle, a close friend. Nowadays, when you open up to someone, it could be social media content, so a lot of people still tend to hold it in or not open up and become vulnerable. But you have to have someone you can trust and put your disclaimer out there. Hey, man, what I'm saying between me and you, let it stay between me and you. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I'm going through, and this is what I'm up against right now. And it's the barrier I'm trying to break through. And I appreciate it. We stay between me and you because, I'm opening up to you, and I trust you, and I feel that you wouldn't share what I'm telling you right now and what I'm struggling with. So I trust you will keep this between me and you. And I'm coming to you to hear your opinion on how can I break through this barrier, or what I'm up against. Or matter of fact, I'm just here to vent, to get it off my chest. You know what I'm saying? Because when men are broken, we tend to try to fix them. And sometimes we just being to open up to get it off our chest. Like, man, I got that big boulder off my shoulders now. I feel good talking to you about that. Right. And now by me expressing it and talking about it, now I know what steps I got to take to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, that'll wrap it up, because I really appreciate you. Thank you for sharing. I think these gonna be some gems for some young men. But before I let you go, I know you got an event coming up for landlords, or how to become a landlord, be a success.
Oh yeah, yep. That's today in Glendale. Yep. I host a in-person real estate meetup down in Glendale every last Wednesday of the month, 6 p.m. down in Glendale, California at Underdogs. You want to come out and learn how to become a successful landlord in California. This event is today, so I don't know when you may post this or whatnot.
What time is it today?
Today at 6 p.m.
Okay.
You can find information on meetup.com under Multifamily Masters. That is the group, Multifamily Masters.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there it is, folks. Man, we appreciate y'all joining us and sitting in on this conversation. Cousin, appreciate you. Love you.
Love you too, man.
You shared a lot today.
Thank you.
And we're going to give them a little bit more next week. So I appreciate you. Take care and good luck tonight.
Man, thank you. You take care too, cousin. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
all right.
Sir. All right.